Welcome everybody. This is our last CX on the Rocks event of 2025. We started in March of this year. We've had, almost weekly events the entire year with these kind of monthly meetings with our other solution series with other events. We've been very, very busy, and it's been such a great time and a lot of energy and a lot of great people meeting so many of you, and it's welcome to this last event. And we're already planning big things and big launches in 2026 that I'll be communicating over the next couple of weeks as we kind of wrap down the year and start up for next month. But I will say that if you keep tabs on cxontherocks.com/upcoming-events, that's where they'll all be listed, and you can register there for the events as we're going. We've already got pretty much the first quarter of next year scheduled, finalizing some details on a few of events. We'll be launching a new webinar, which is more of kind of a live event. We'll be using LinkedIn Live, and then we'll have this monthly meeting and some of our other more detailed sessions on frameworks and content and context as well. So excited to see what the new year brings. Looking back over the first part of this year, we have ended up, strangely enough, talking a lot about this thing called AI. It's been a topic that pops up because it's something that everybody's thinking about and dealing with and trying to figure out. And AI doesn't mean the same thing in different contexts, because AI means so much in so many different ways. And so for our last event of the year, we're going to ask Chris Hodges to kind of lead us in a discussion. And I won't steal his thunder, but we're definitely going to talk about, the impacts of this from an employment standpoint, from a career standpoint, from a business standpoint, and ultimately personal development, even from that perspective. And so looking forward to today's conversation, and we'll reminder that in this experience exchange, it really is about dialogue and conversation. If we have a few more people join, we'll probably go into a couple of breakout rooms for the latter half of the meeting, where we can really dig in and talk with each other about this topic. But until then, Chris is going to kind of kick us off with some content to go. So Chris, you have the virtual stage.
So look, I want to keep this as raw and visceral as I can. This is about me, you, and all the other people who are roughly in your same orbit. What the hell are you going to do with your career in this space? What are you going to do with your job right now? By the way, I'm sorry, former Navy guy, likely to swear. Now would be a good time to hang up if you're going to be insulted by that. I'll try to keep it somewhat. I'll keep it shore duty based, not sea duty based. Anyway, what does it really mean what does this stuff mean for us? What can we do, actually tangible things to do to keep us from feeling scared, spooked, unemployed, whatever? And anyone who doesn't feel that way, then you're out of sync with, if you're not somewhat nervous about that, you're either an amazing human being, or you're just out of sync with what's going on with groups all over the world. I speak at Vistage. I've spoken to 18 groups of CEOs around the country in the last 12 months, and every one of them is asking this same question. So, hey, we can all resonate with the CEOs of Vistage groups around the country. So let's walk through what can some of this stuff mean for us. You've heard this, it's almost a cliche. AI won't take your job. It'll only take the parts you never liked anyway. That is, unless the part you really liked is this routine task-oriented stuff and you're really good at it, then you should be panicked. But if that's not the part you liked, we're in good shape. So it's the repetitive tasks, the data entry, the endless ticket queues. AI is taking over the work that drains your energy. Now, that's part of it. But the other part, we all know, if you've used ChatGPT or Grok, any of the other tools extensively, it also takes that first step of creativity away. You write the right prompt in there and you're like, damn, that's 500 great words about whatever I just said. And suddenly you realize, hey, I used to like that brainstorming stuff with a blank whiteboard or a blank piece of paper or whatever. And now AI is going to be able to produce that rough draft for you. So what's left? Well, the strategic, the creative, the human work that only you can do in theory, right? The conversations that build loyalty, that's absolutely true. And the decisions that shape the culture. the innovations that drive growth. Those are the things that we're all still going to be able to do, at least for now, and I think really realistically for quite a while. I work with another company that supports me doing webinar stuff, and not dissimilar to this. And I couldn't believe in 5 minutes how I could go into a specific chat set up for that purpose. It gave me a great draft, and then I worked with the person from the company to really make that great draft fantastic. And that's the way I like to think about it. That if you're hung up on having to do the first draft, you're probably going to be unhappy. But if you're okay with the first draft being done with your ideas and then taking it forward, you're in great shape. So here's the classic CX. Here's an example, right? Here's Angela from fear to career growth. The AI tools are rolled out at her company. She feels threatened. 5 years of CX expertise. This is probably a lot of colleagues or subordinates for people on this call. Is that experience going to matter? I hear AI is going to just take my job away. And then the manager comes in and says, hey, and another cliche, AI handles the routine. You handle what makes us human. I think that's actually true, despite the fact that it sounds like a cliche, right? The AI let the AI do the other stuff. So Angela shifts her focus from answering tickets to coaching your team, analyzing patterns that AI has pulled out and surfaced, and designing better customer journeys. We've got a couple of people on this call, Dave specifically, who is a customer journey expert, and he's going to light up in a minute when I start talking about it because of how important it is. So 6 months later, she's promoted to senior CX strategist because she's not focused on the routine tasks. She stopped competing with AI and started leveraging it. So think about that case for all of us. How do you stop competing with XI or AI and start leveraging it in the CX space? A lot of A's and C's and whatever. So here's the reality check, and hopefully you've all seen some version of this, right? So what's actually going on in AI in the CX space? Chatbots and virtual agents are handling tier one inquiries 24/7 across every channel, not in every company, but in every channel, capable of doing it in every channel. Intelligent routing, connecting customers to the right expert instantly. This is all straight out of the box stuff now, how fast this actually works. The predictive analytics, the forecasting customer needs before they even reach out, which I think is one of the most powerful things. By the time you pick up the phone or by the time they email you, you actually know the top 3 reasons why they're probably calling you. And then that last piece, of course, sentiment analysis, reading emotional cues and real-time conversations. Now that's all. The reason I bring that up is that's actually what's happening now, right? So if I go back to the main page here, this is all the stuff that's actually happening right now, as opposed to what's going to be happening in the future. So building your go forward strategy with your career and your relevance needs to take these things into consideration. If they're not already in your space, they're going to be there soon. Now I got to quickly click through my little. If anyone wants to know how I zoom in and out of these boxes, let me know. There'll be a special tutorial at the end of this webinar. All right. And the customer expectations, of course, have absolutely changed. So let's see if I can confirm these with you. Instant response. They don't want to wait on hold. Customers expect answers in seconds, not hours or whatever. They want deeply personalized responses. Generic stuff just doesn't cut it. We're just taking it to the next level every single way. Error-free experience. This is what they want. It's not what people are all getting, of course. We all know that. So a lot of this is on the hype edge, but this is what they're now expecting. And they want support all the time. And they want support from a friendly, human-sounding looking person, if at all humanly possible. So the expectations have changed. And the big stuff is, okay, is any of this working? Is it making a damn bit of difference, right? Is it really is it in the hype phase or not? Well, the numbers I think are pretty compelling. 40 to 60% improvement on response times by AI-powered routing and chatbots. 20 to 50% cost reduction, depending how it's applied. I can't see everybody's hands, but if you've read the MIT study that says only 5% of the people doing AI implementations are achieving the ROI they want, read the actual study. Do not read just the headline. The actual study is that depending how they apply AI and how they're using it in their tools, they're finding huge improvements. If they try to build their own AI platforms, they are not finding huge improvements and huge ROI. And net promoter scores going up as long as the routine tasks are handled quickly and the human being gets to handle the other pieces. So that's the story that lays the background of, is it really doing anything? How does it matter? What's changing in the CX landscape? Of course, tasks are just being automated. The roles are evolving. Job descriptions are transforming. You all probably see this. The CX professional is now part analyst, part strategist, part coach. So during, the hiring process, what are you good at? Well, you better say I'm a part analyst, part strategist, and part coach, or some version of this, instead of saying I'm very detail oriented and I'm really good at handling tasks. I'm talking lower level positions here because those tasks are simply going away and the humans are being elevated. And now some humans, let's keep it real. This is back to our own careers. If you are not demonstrating the flexibility and the nimbleness to be able to take this stuff and move forward, you will be ejected from the business. It's just that simple because they're gonna replace you with a machine. But if you are demonstrating the human interaction skills and the ability to interact with the team and the ability to think forward and use this stuff in a positive, constructive way, you're going to be kept, right? And hopefully promoted and be able to do well with that. So important stuff. So AI does volume, humans do value. AI excels at handling thousands of interactions in incredible speed. When a customer needs empathy, creative problem solving, or someone who truly understands their frustrations, that's where we become irreplaceable. So, you think about the profile we all used to have. Of course, emotional intelligence was, a phrase we used for a long time. And people still say that is what AI sucks at, right? Is emotional intelligence. It's really being a better human being is what it's calling you to do. So that's good. If you're like doing that, and that's fantastic. If you're not very emotionally intelligent or emotionally ambitious, you might have a challenge. The future belongs to the CX professional who masters the partnership. I know that sounds like a cliche, but my God, it's true. And in every example I've seen, the people, resisting are going nowhere, and the people who see the partnership are taking off. What it's great at, I think you already know this: lightning speed, pattern recognition, perfect memory, tireless repetition. Do you know any human who's good at these things? I mean, look at these four things. How good are humans at being lightning speed, incredibly wide pattern recognition, perfect memory, and tireless repetition? This is what my wife wishes I had. I don't have any of this. So, unless you do. So the good news is that's what AI is good at, right? What is AI terrible at? There's a lot of stuff on that page, right? So let me go one at a time. Empathy. AI still sucks. Some of that stuff that comes back is just, really not demonstrating what's going on in the real world. Nuance, understanding how that relates to the person, the situation, the timing, the holiday, the season, whatever. Building trust. Obviously, AI is not something there, creating that genuine handoff of human trust. Hopefully now your heart goes pitter patter because you say, hey, you're good at these things. Creativity. There's some areas where it's starting to get creative, creating generic, pictures and stuff like that. But genuine creativity, what are you going to do? Take the business forward, et cetera. Not good at that. And of course, AI is not a leadership tool. So every one of those things, hopefully, every one of us can look at and say, hey, well, good, because I'm good at empathy. I understand nuance. I'm good at building trust. I've always been told, this is you talking, not me. I'm creative in certain areas of my life, and damn, I aspire to be the better leader that I've already been, and I'm pretty good now. So that's good news. What's the new CX leader role? And this is where we start to get tangible. What are you actually going to do? Well, an insight translator. What does it actually mean when you pull that data out? What are you going to do with that? A workflow optimizer. This is the customer journey mapping, where you take customer journey mapping and directly apply it against what AI can do and figure out how to optimize it. AI just can't do that, right? We understand how these individual pieces work. So once again, something we think of journey mapping has been around a while. Yeah, well, so is process mapping, and it's absolutely essential to understanding what happens in a business. So hopefully, if we do a breakout, and Dave is in one of your breakouts, Dave Seaton, who's down there with his hand on his chin. So it's just Seaton right over his head. So Dave can go into that. And the human experience champion, right? A whole other role for us to do. How can we be the human experience champion? How can we help that person feel like a human being? So the insight translator is what I said before. It's AI produces answers. You produce the meaning. So think about this as an interview, job interview. You lose your job tomorrow if you don't have a job now or whatever. And someone says, well, what are you going to do in the CX space? Here's some great things to say. I'm an insight translator. Well, what do you mean by that? Well, I produce meaning out of what AI brings out, and that meaning takes us forward. People want that. They need that. The next one, workflow optimizer. Design the end-to-end journeys. And if it's already designed in some way, optimize. Of course, it's designed in some way, unless it's brand new. Optimize the end-to-end journeys. Did I say Dave Seaton's name yet? Oh, let me say it again. Dave's really good at that. So, and if you need to do the journey mapping, he's the guy for it. And the human and AI alignment, right? I mean, think of those are the human skills we all need to be hitting. So the human experience champion, and yes, did I generate this picture with AI? You're damn right, because nobody has a complexion that perfect. Just to make it clear. Humans handle the emotional and complex moments, right? Which is what we all desperately want as human beings to treat us. So that's the way to think about it. So, what are four future-proof skills everyone on this call can go out and nail, me included? Learn to be great at prompting. I know that AI will even now generate decent prompts for you. There's a whole couple of websites that will just generate prompts for you. Knowing what goes on in a business and understanding how to write the prompts to put into these GPTs is an incredibly valuable skill because the GPTs are only what they are, but without the prompts, you just can't turn great stuff into it. And then writing the prompts and creating your own GPTs around your knowledge set is a skill that's going to be valuable for quite a while. Journey design, we talked about that again, right? What is the full journey that people are going through? What are they actually experiencing? Emotional intelligence and the ability to influence internally. That's not external influence. That's the ability to influence internally to make the changes take place. I look at this whole list and I say, these are the hard skills, the good, meaningful skills that we've always wanted to have, but we often get so tangled up in the BS skills that we don't have time to spend time on the hard skills. And prompting is new, obviously, but the rest of these things are existing. So it's really a higher calling, taking us to that higher calling. And I think that's a good way and a real way of looking at it. So prompting and AI fluency, you do not, as everyone knows, you don't have to know code. You just have to learn how to write good prompts. And there are plenty of ways to figure that out, but the best way to do it is to start writing prompts. The journey thinking, you're architecting the experience. Do not fight fires. Figure out how it all works. And I know I keep mentioning Dave, but there's a lot to the journey mapping process. And anyone who hasn't done it, just like process mapping in some degrees, if you haven't done it and you haven't seen what the insights that come out of that, the only way to get there is to do it once, right? And really see, oh my God, I didn't realize how important that was. So that's good for all of us. And you can't talk people into understanding what that is. They have to see it. They have to see it, feel it, make it happen. Emotional intelligence, that's a whole subject into itself, but it's obviously an area for all of us to focus on. And cross-functional influence. We've often said CX is everyone's job, right? The CX function rose up to be this pinnacle in, like a vertical, and then it became the CX is the company-wide sport. Yeah, but the problem with that is a lot of people who it's now kind of peripherally their job, they still don't know how to do it. And it's our job to be able to help them influence them and take them forward. So those are some things we should all do, right? Based on what I've seen, what I've experienced, and what all these CEOs and all these Vistage groups I've been speaking to have reinforced in these. And those are 3-hour sessions, by the way. It's fantastic to hear what they're actually doing in their businesses and help them, hopefully, as well. But let's talk about 3 things not to do, or 3 things we can all stop doing. One, obviously, manual tasks. If you hide in manual tasks because you don't want to dive into AI, eventually those manual tasks are going to be sucked away from you. So let's stop doing manual tasks. Avoiding AI. I know that sounds duh, but I still can't believe how many people, when I go around to these groups, are doing almost nothing with AI. It's just painful to see. And of course, being the task doer. You're not supposed to be the task doer. You're supposed to be getting other people to be doing the tasks and AI to do as many of the tasks as humanly possible. Okay, that was the negative. So let's start with what we can do, and it's a really positive thing to do. Using AI daily. So about a year ago, my son runs a venture capital incubator. It kills me that I have a son old enough to do that, but I do. Anyway, he runs this venture capital incubator, and all these people come in and pitch these businesses to him. And he over the kitchen table, he says to me, Dad, if you really want to become an expert in these AI tools, never use Google again. I'm like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean never use Google again? He said, just go on to AI for every single thing you guys. What about the time the pizza shop is open and, the map to the all the other stuff you use Google for? He said, just go to AI for everything and you'll break the habit. So I would say that to everybody. Use AI for everything under the sun you can possibly think of. And then the few things that it really sucks at, then you'll know that and you won't do those. But if you haven't asked AI a bunch of questions in a given day, then you're not using it enough because somebody else is out there doing that. So that's the first one. Use AI daily. Second one, designing hybrid workflows. There's a fantastic term. I think it's a fantastic term. It's a Japanese term called autonomation. It came about when the Japanese auto industry was really rising out of the 70s into the 80s and into the 90s and basically handing the US automakers their ass because they were so much better at making great cars and making them inexpensively. Well, when we sent a bunch of, we put some political pressure on the Japanese. We sent a bunch of auto executives over to Japan and they opened their kimono literally, well, not literally, but let us walk, these American engineers walking around Japanese plants. And these American engineers are all taking notes and they write down, it's all about the robots. It's the robots. And they came back to the United States. They built the Fremont manufacturing plant where Teslas are built now. They built the Fremont manufacturing plant. It was the most automated plant in history at the time. Total failure. And the reason is because the Japanese understood there are things you automate and things you don't. And you absolutely optimize the things you can automate because they are automatable tasks. And then you absolutely optimize the things human beings need to do. There is magic in knowing the difference. And the difference was billions of dollars of cars sold because they knew how to not automate stuff that shouldn't be automated. We should take that same lesson. The word is autonomation. Write it down somewhere if it resonates with you. But the key is to figure out what the right tool for the right thing, and we can all do that. And the last one, of course, is leading change. I remember that old joke about if you're getting run out of town, just get in front of the crowd and you look like you're leading a parade. Well, do it in reverse. If you're going into town, just get in front and just be one step ahead of everyone and using these tools. And now you're leading the change because you understand some of these key tools and techniques. So, future of CX, in my view, personal opinion, obviously going to be human-led, will always be human-led. That's the whole point of CX. It's where the gooey part of business takes place. It's the handshake, whether it's virtual or real. It's the human interaction. And if we ever remove all that completely, it simply will not be competitive. It will be AI powered, as it already is, in many cases already is, but it will be much, much more AI powered. The question is, how can we be the complement to what the AI is doing? And humans will be elevated and not replaced. So that was a really fast stream of words I put out. I'm going to just stop and ask us all a question. What does this mean for you? And if you want this presentation, send me an email, and I'll be happy to send you all the whole slide deck, and you can do whatever you want to do with it, right? But what does it mean for you? And this is, in my opinion, my personal opinion, just from my personal experience, between now and the New Year's period every year is my best time to think. Right? Stuff starts to wind down in some ways, and you're writing Christmas cards, but you're having, some deep thoughts. Now is a fantastic time to say, what does all this shit mean for me? What am I going to do with this? Right? And have a moment of reflection and calm time to go through it. I think best way to have a moment of reflection is to do that with another person, another friend of yours, or someone else who's in a peer group like the CX on the Rocks group. Several of us are on this phone call. Of course, you could book a strategy call with Chris Hodges, and Chris Hodges will invite Sean or Dave or anybody else from the CX group if you'd like to talk. There is a QR code if you'd like to talk about these same subjects with you, about your life and what you're doing. But let me go back to another option. Here's the same QR code to book a time if you want to spend some time talking. But most important, even if you don't want to spend any time talking, you can book a time, or I'll go back to the first page of this presentation and I'll give you my email. Send me an email. I will send you a PDF version of this book, Noble Automation Now, which I wrote. I'll be happy to send you the presentation as well. More than anything else, I would like to talk. If one of two things is going to happen, I'm going to learn something about what you're doing, and you're going to learn something about what I'm doing, which would be interesting. That's one thing. And the other thing is maybe we do something after that. But if nothing else, it'll be an interesting conversation. And in my life, I need more interesting conversations with more interesting people focused on this subject. Sean, that's it. That's the topic that you and I talked about high level. I hope everybody saw themselves in one of those slides, what's going on, and maybe you want to take over from this point.
great kickoff to the rest of the session today. I know we're you mentioned interesting conversation, so that's the time, for this one. I know we might lose a few people at the mid part of the hour, but you know, I agree with you, Chris. I think right now, especially, thinking about using AI, how it's impacting my business, what I'm trying to accomplish. The key for me too is when you talk about, spending this time of year to make a connection, think about what you want to do next year, et cetera. I'm using AI for that. I'm using AI to strategize as a person to talk to, and I put on the chat GPT voice feature and have conversations. And it's been great to just brainstorm about what we're going to do and next year, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to break into two rooms. We got about 9 people left, so that's good. 4 to 5 people in a couple of rooms, and I do want you guys to talk a little bit about when you think about as you're closing out this year, but more specifically as you're going into next year for you, your organization, your own work that you're doing. I'd love for the teams to kind of just have that conversation about what is AI looking like as we go into next year. What are you doing about that? What are the things that you're excited about? And we're going to do that for about 15, 20 minutes of dialogue and conversation. Then we're going to come back together and share just a little bit as a group. But great opportunity to get to know some other folks on the call, and have a little bit of that conversation about what Chris challenges with is what are we going to do? What does it mean to us as we go into it? So I'm going to hit assign to the breakouts. You guys should all automatically get assigned and created. And we'll kick that off, and then I'll bring everybody back after about 15, 20 minutes.